Hi, my name is Marcy Ritzik. Sometimes I don't even know what my name is. And today is star date June, June already 9th, 2025, year of our Lord. And I'm in Connecticut right now, planet Earth. And it's nice to join you, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Okay, so why don't you take us from the top at the earliest days of this part of your life's journey unraveling, lead with that and let's see where it goes.
All right. So this is an ancestry podcast. And like most of us listening, I think we did ancestry for fun, so to speak. My mom told me she was adopted around the time I went to college when I was 20 years old, thereabouts, probably 17. Anyway, thereabouts back in the early to mid 90s. So I didn't think much of it at the time. I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's back up a little bit. In the mid 80s, when I was in grade school, dating myself now, so I will be open with that. Government transparency. I work for the state. I am currently 49.5 years old, years young. So back in the day, you do these grade school projects with your family tree. I think we're all familiar with those, and it's all very neat. I'm half Irish and half Polish. Cool. How tidy. So I always just had a lot of interest in learning my family tree and the stories behind that. Also, in elementary school, I started taking French because there was no choice. You either take French or Spanish. And being from Hartford, Connecticut, Spanish would have actually been the more useful choice, in my humble opinion, using it day to day. But Nana said I will take French. So there you go. I took French. All right. So I was pretty good at French and then go on to college where I was an art history major. And so I took up Italian. And molto bene la lingua bellissima. I had an affinity for the foreign languages. I tease my friends. I love foreign languages. I love traveling. Did a semester abroad in Florence, Italy to complement my art history studies and had the Eurorail pass in the late 90s, I guess it was. Went around to all the countries pre 9/11 with my backpack, brushing my teeth over train tracks, being the Euro trash traveler. And that was cool. So good time traveling around Western Europe, even a little bit of Eastern Europe, Budapest for my 19th birthday. That was great. So traveling all around Europe. Just love traveling and the foreign languages, I think is my point for background on that. So then mom tells me she's adopted. I have an affinity for the foreign languages. I'm a student of the world, or enlightened with my Renaissance art and whatnot. So then these ancestry tests become popular, right? And I don't even remember when this was. I think around 2017 ish is when they were brought to my attention. Stay up on current events and whatnot, working in the public policy area. I don't even know if that's relevant, but I wanted to do this. I thought it was cool. Also, I should add that my brother is a fertility doctor, a cancer researcher, and, a genetic doctor, a scientist, an expert in the sorts. So I thought it would be cool to do my ancestry for fun. Mom is adopted and my French or Italian. Where does my linguistic awesomeness come from? So we all get the results back. I remember where I was the day where I was. We always remember where we are, significant events. I was on the beach at the Jersey Shore under the little chairlift, like the show Snooki, whatnot. It was a beautiful late September morning. Now that I think of it, similar to that 9/11 morning, beautiful, brilliant blue sky on the beach in Wildwood, New Jersey, random place. And you get the ping on your cell phone. These things had just started becoming, we carry them around everywhere. It was kind of just starting. Had it in the sun. You can't really see with the sun glare. And you get that notification, ding, and you open it up. And oh, good, my ancestry results are back. Open it up. It says 52% Ashkenazi Jewish. And I thought, oh, this must be a typo, an error. First of all, what does Ashkenazi really mean? So let me also back up and provide a little more context and background. I'm born and raised in West Hartford, Connecticut, third generation, which has a very big, proud, and strong Jewish population. A lot of my friends were Jewish growing up. My last name, Ritzik, may sound to some as Jewish, and I was wished a happy Hanukkah a lot growing up. So that's cool. Great. We learned dreidel songs and Christmas songs, and that's all cool and good. And I love learning about the religions as I learned my art history studies. I always took world religion studies. I'm looking at those books right now in my bookcase, and always a student of all the various religions and their arts. And that's great. However, I just didn't think that was my background, Ashkenazi Jewish. Surprise. So I Googled the word Ashkenazi, learn how it's different than the Sephardic. I think I'm saying that correctly. Sephardic Jewish peoples, more from Spain, right? So anyway, I think we all have this story from what I've listened to. We all call up the 800 number on Ancestry. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. There must be a mistake with my results. You must have mixed up my sample. And they say, oh, no, ma'am. It's you. You are the one that is mistaken. You do the emails. And I'm pretty persistent with people when I think something is wrong. I'm kind and polite, however, I'm persistent and I will keep at it. So I kept at it with these ancestry people and I was like, are you sure? Can you please check again? So there's a series of these emails and phone calls. And then you find the Facebook groups, the secret closed Facebook groups. And I, of course, entered those groups. And then you catch wind of, oh, you need to cross sample with the other platform, the other 23andMe database, because there would be others in that group, i.e. sample, that you might not know about, and you will find more stuff out. And so I do that. So you pay the nominal fee, and this is where the fiscal impact comes in. This is what I did for a living for 18 years, was assess fiscal impact on proposed legislation. So whatever, what's another $100 in 2018 money? So pay more money, spit in a tube, send it off in the mail. Crazy stuff. So get that one back. Says the same darn thing. Ashkenazi Jewish. Maybe this one says 51.8% or something similar. This is becoming a little bit of a long time ago now. So the details are a little fuzzy. And of course, by now we've all deleted the 23andMe because the bad people have it. But it was very interesting. The percentages change over the years, but being able to zoom in, oh, look, I am actually 25% Irish, coincidence. I remember back to my being half Irish and half Polish. Oh, coincidence. Good thing I'm really a little bit Irish because I have shamrock tattoos on my arm. Thank God. So there's that. And you can zoom in and it's pretty cool, right? On the 23andMe one to see like, oh, County Cork and County Dublin. So that checked out. That's the only thing that checked out. And so you're scrolling through the list of names on Ancestry and 23andMe, and there's 1,506 relatives that I have, and none of the names look vaguely familiar. They're all these crazy Hebrew names from faraway places, like some pretty crazy Hebrew names. A few like other names scattered in that might be, Joe Smith or whatever, but some really crazy spellings of some intense Hebrew names. And I was like, wow, who the heck are these people and why are there no family members that I remember from my childhood big Christmases? My family Christmases and holidays were really big and really fun, and I have really fond memories of those extended family events. But over the years, they got smaller and smaller. But I remember all their names, and none of them were on the list. So some time went by. So I just kind of sat with this mystery in my cell phone pocket, filled with sand, blinded by the sun, and melting in my pocket. So I grew up always knowing that something was different and that I was a little bit off. Well, my friends will tell you, we all kind of know that about me. And I think that's also a common theme that us donor conceived people have. Black sheep of the family. Literally, I'm the purple sheep of the family with my 2 full sleeve tattoos and my Crayola red hair, purple hair. Literally the black sheep of the family. And in thinking back now, yeah, it all makes sense, as we all say. So I digress. Let's get back to the progression of the discovery, I guess. So I sit with this weird sense of why the hell am I Jewish? Excuse my language. Nice girl, potty mouth. I work for politicians. Okay. I'll try to keep it clean for the SEC.
Whatever needs to be said.
Me.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to get rid of the filter, feel free.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Zero filter.
Yeah.
All right. So, right. I've heard the others. Okay, so months go by, maybe a couple weeks, maybe like 3 months. So I've like garner up the courage to talk to my parents. That's been the theme of my life. Nothing is really easy with my parents ever. I'm the oldest of three BT dubs, and then there's a large gap, common theme. And then my brother, who's always looked like me and acted like me, similar like laugh. And then my little sister, who is blonde, looks nothing like me. They're the Irish twins close together. So that's the dynamic there. So I'm the oldest, leadership skills. All right. So I garner up the courage to talk to mom, like call the number, sweating, heart rate, the whole thing. And I'm like, Mom, do you want to go like have a drink at the mall in the middle of the day? Let's go have like a martini lunch. Here's another interesting tidbit is that I cannot have a drink. Like I cannot process a drink. I'll get hungover after one drink and get a blowout migraine. I've always been the only person in my family to get migraines or headaches. My mom gets like headaches, but not really. So, and I've had them disabling since 19 years old. And being an educated person and my brother kind of related in this, doctor adjacent industry, I don't know about that, but I've always done my own research and I've always been an educated patient and why I know they're genetic and why does no one else get them? So for 25 years, why I've been researching about migraines. Why does no one else get them? Okay, another little side note in the margin. Okay, so I asked mom to go to lunch because that's her thing, meet her where she's at. And we go to Brio at the mall, West Farms Mall in West Hartford. I'll never forget it. And I show her my phone. Show the proof. Mom, why the E double hockey sticks? Am I Jewish? I'm like, just tell me it's cool about that. But like, what do you know about this? And like, I think she immediately starts crying. I can't remember the words, like traumatic things. Our brain protects us and helps us from trauma by protecting us.
Sure.
But that was like the gist of it. I'm like, Mom, what do you know about this? Tell me everything. Why am I Jewish? We're all thinking, yeah, it's either an affair or fertility treatment. So like, just tell me. I'm like, because there's medical consequences. Like, I need to know. Oh yeah. And also to back up, you remember this in like pieces, right? So there was a close relative who I thought was my aunt due to the age, you back into the math. So that's all I knew. Becca, we'll call her, was my aunt. And there was another close relative with just initials. So I had these two really close relatives. That's all I knew.
Okay.
So I had these close relatives. And why am I Jewish? And why are there no names? Like, where's Auntie Pat? Where the hell are all these people? So she looks at it. She starts crying. I knew about her treatment for depression in the early 70s. So she told me about that again and that she had shockwave treatments at the Institute of Living in the early 70s in Hartford, and that she thinks that may have caused infertility, severe depression for a traumatic event she went through in college, and that she had fertility problems, and that she had a bunch of close first cousins. And so when they all got married around the same time, and they all were supposed to just get married and have babies, because that's the way the Irish Catholic did it in the early 70s. So where are her kids? A lot of pressure is what I'm trying to say. So she was under a lot of pressure, had a severe depression from this traumatic event she went through in college, and went undergo these shock treatments, which, having a neurological thing myself, I can't imagine my poor mother. So she had these fertility treatments at Yukon Health Center. Her mother, my Nana, the Irish Nana, whose house I lived in West Hartford for 20 years, was an RN at St. Francis Hospital in Hartford, a Catholic hospital, St. Francis, who would have not condoned fertility treatments, science and all. So, but Nana, as I knew her, Nana lived to be 93 and was feisty, and she drank her scotch every day with her high heels and her hair done, and she was a hot shit, and I loved her. So she would have facilitated these fertility treatments at Yukon Health Center for sure. So now looking back on it, I'm like, you go, girl, you go get those science-y things done, and you help your daughter get what she wants, which was to have a baby.
Right.
So crazy. So she took her to Yukon Health Center to meet this doctor to get the fertility treatments, which we now know is the turkey baster science of the early 70s. And we know the doctors were told to keep quiet. And they could have got arrested. My grammar is poor. Been arrested. See, I'm being hard on myself for just speaking. So they were told to keep quiet, probably ask no questions. And she had fertility treatments, and here I come I'm all over the place, but going back. All right. So going back to the liquid lunch at Brio, she told me about the thing. I cried. She cried. We left. It was pretty quick. I was like, did dad know? I think so. And it was the typical one and done conversation. Never speak of it again. Sweep it back under the 70s shag carpet. I went to the house. I lived a mile away from my parents. I bought Nana's house off my parents, for the discounted family rate
Of course.
in the family.
Yep.
But it was a mile away. And so I was over there quite often. I was like, Dad, like, I know all about this. And just stoic. I forget like what it was, like a one liner. Like that's all we ever talked about it. Stoic, one liner, whatever. Okay. Yeah. I don't look like him at all. I always knew I'm pretty observant. I'm very observant, actually. I should be a detective. Never too late.
Yeah.
So that was that. And I remember now thinking back to, we had the finished basement, the typical wooden panel, orange shag carpet, 70s basement. So we'd hang out down there, us three kids. My sister, the bleach blonde, looks nothing like me. And I used to tease her that she was adopted and make her cry when we were like really little, like 5. I'm like, who's the asshole now? I am. Yeah. And my little brother, like we got by in school pretty well. Like we didn't have to work too hard, got by like honors, like mediocre athletes. But Amanda, the little sister, the blonde, she was the star athlete, but like struggled in school.
Mm-hmm.
So when she found all this out, she was mad, pissed, like didn't speak to me for a while because now she's the outsider. And still to this day, we don't speak because of related. It's all related. No pun intended.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So the secret's out. All right. Let's get back to the new sisters. So, shocker, those 2 close matches end up being the 2 new half sisters, one of which was raised in West Hartford with me, the same town, on the other side of town. Our town, the high schools were like West Side Story. You have Conard and Hall, the good high school. No, teasing. A little. But so she went to the other high school. This completely blows my mind. This blows my mind, I think, more than anything. So we start messaging on the app as we do, and then she slides into my DMs, and then we move to texting. That took like a while. She was pretty cautious. Whereas I am always in life the most open and just open and available, heart on my sleeve, open person ever. To my detriment a lot of times, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. So we get to talking and we figure it out. She ends up being a brilliant PhD scientist, just like my brother Darren. She also runs marathons in costumes like me.
Wow.
This blows my mind also. The nature versus nurture thing. I took AP bio and 9th grade, so I go down the rabbit hole, we start talking about, we have the same curly hair. Like now my hair makes sense. Like think like crazy hair. I won't say slurs, racial slurs, but I have like crazy hair. Like no one in my family has this hair, like curly hair. It's today. So the hair makes sense. Me and my brother look similar. The reddish brown hair, his hair was kept short, but it was also a little wild. And Amanda with the bleach blonde hair. And the nose. But Rachel and I, once we start exchanging photos, we look really similar. And I finally look like somebody for the first time. Yeah. So we text for a while, me and Rachel and I. So from the same town. So she lives in Boston now and like brilliant PhD scientist and a marathon runner. I think those are 2 pretty unique things. So then I finally start messaging with the initial person. And that ends up being 1 generation down. That's like the niece. And this person is pretty aloof and doesn't really want to contact, won't reveal anything. But that ends up being the husband who's kind of like controlling the account, the administrator for my half sister, who was stage 4 breast cancer in her 20s because of the BRCA gene that a lot of Jewish people carry. So, and he didn't want to alert her because she was really sick or whatever reasons. But I ended up getting really mad at him. Rachel and I kind of like team up. We're like, you should just let her know that she's got people out here. She's got sisters and maybe she wants to know. Like we were like, you're kind of a controlling like man, like let her decide for herself. We were kind of mad. We were very persistent. The 2 of us were very persistent, but we couldn't break through But he ends up contacting me, and I start like having like a relationship with him. And I'm like, this is inappropriate. And I just want to talk to your wife and my sister. But also good to know that I have a BRCA complication here and I should go get checked out.
Right.
So I got tested for the BRCA gene negative, but you're walking around for 3 weeks waiting for the results. And I deflect with humor, if you can't tell. I'm like, just chop them off. I'm a runner. It'll be better anyway. Like, just take them. But it's horrible. And you think about this girl, my sister, half sister, my sister that I don't know, who's been through hell for the past 25 years. And yeah, thank God we live in this age of science and, the old science started this whole thing. So yeah, I guess she's doing well. Like he tells me she's doing well. Well, then why don't you let me talk to her? Like, let me at her. Let's do a selfie. Right. I have pictures, detective here who Googles for a living. I found pictures and a couple articles, and she loves dogs and rescuing dogs, and so do I. So.
And now if I could pause you quickly here, have you considered, I'm assuming you know her first and last name, have you considered reaching out to her outside of the DNA platforms?
At the time, I did not know. It was he really made it difficult. And I had some initials and I knew his name, but I didn't know her name at the time.
Okay.
It was really hard, man. And he was on lockdown. He had that shit on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was quite difficult. And even to this day, he blocks me from stuff. But he's been to my house. I've been to their house at this point, but it's a little bit weird.
Okay.
So I finally, only recently, within the past 2 years, have met her. So yeah. Yeah, difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he tells me to get checked for cancer. I'm like, great, thank you. And I hope
so he's truly managing all of the communication that you're attempting to put out there for her.
He came to my work and pretended to like talk, like he knows I'm into music and jam bands. So he's like, here's a stereo. I'm like, came to the Capitol where I work in Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Because he works in downtown Harvard too. An actuary, and I'm a budget analyst. Another similarity.
Yeah. Now, maybe I'm digging a little deeper than is necessary here, but when you have had contact with your half sister, what was that like? And did she sense that maybe her partner was keeping her from access to you or access to certain information?
You mean now, today?
I mean, in those initial moments of first connecting.
She didn't know for.
So her husband was keeping this from her. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And me and Rachel, me and sister number one knew this, that he was blocking.
Got it. And now that you've had contact with her, I assume it probably feels pretty awkward to think about blowing up his spot.
Yeah, but I did.
You did? Okay.
Oh yeah, I did.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about how that played out?
I don't mind at all. No, I'm just trying to remember the sequence. It's really fuzzy. It's really mixed. The sequence of events is totally messed. But I think at one point he was just like sick of me. And that's how I get shit done, because I squeaky wheel gets the grease and you just keep at him. Kind and polite, however, persistent AF. And I think it was the both of us that were just like relentless, because I would want to know. Yeah. So, but still to this, she just wasn't raised like sister one and I were. I think you just raised, that like these guys are in charge and you do as you're told and there's no questioning things. And even to this day, now that I know her pretty well, we've had lunch together a bunch of times. We've hung out for donuts. And still to this day, I still have a lot of ick.
Yeah. And do you have any sense of what the husband's motive around keeping her from this could have been?
I thought it could have been, I assume the best of people, and she was really sick and let's protect her from drama.
Yeah.
And unnecessary stuff. And I am, as I say at work, Madam Administrator, we'll take the role and we'll, take the vote and the tally will be taken. And that's it. He was protecting her. But, us women today, we can take care of ourselves and let her decide.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
We were really upset. We're strong, independent women in this family of 8,000 people, and we'll decide. So I understand. I have a place of compassion, for a lot of people in this story, like my mom, who was under the pressure. My brother was pissed when he found this out, like, how dare you keep this secret from me? And he's the fertility doctor, the irony there. crap. And because now his kid has a blood disorder. So maybe that would be, I'm the one with no children. And I think that is a huge implication. But
Okay.
now that these genetic things are being passed down, and actually going back to that, with me with the severe disabling migraines, I was drooling on myself for all of my 30s. Even to this day, I could easily be on disability from my 80-hour-a-week job sometimes.
Yeah.
But I chose not to have children because I have a genetic pain disorder. I don't want to pass that down to
Right.
anyone.
Right.
So yeah, my brother's pissed. And I was the one with empathy for my mother. Like, women, it was different for women in the early 70s.
Mhm.
You got married and you bang out children.
Yeah.
You stay home and you were a teacher or a nurse, and she was a teacher.
Mhm.
But anyway, going back to sister, yeah, he was maybe trying to protect her from because she had stage 4 cancer. But from what I understand, she has been well for a while. And I
Got
think
it.
he's just a controlling man.
Got it. Okay. And then let me just clarify on this because maybe it went over my head for a second. Your younger brother, who you were raised with, he is also donor conceived from the
Yes.
same donor?
I believe, I'm 95% sure. And because we're so similar in all the ways, we look alike, act alike, same book smarts and semi-athletic skills. I think he's from the same sample, although I think the irony, I bought the test, shipped it to his house, and he won't freaking spit in the tube. I
He
think
won't do it.
he won't do it.
Got
It's
it.
crazy to me because he's a fertility doctor and a man of science. And
Right. But your gut feeling is that he
yeah, and my mom thinks so. My mom, I quizzed her heavily on this, and even bio dad, once I finally met him, once we got to that part of the story,
Mhm.
he thinks he was around in the hallways, roaming the hallways.
Got it. Okay.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I want to hear more about the donor, but I have one more question about the newly discovered half sister who went to the nearby high school. When you found out who she was, did you recognize her? Was she someone that you had crossed paths
No.
with before, or no? Okay.
Nope. I only recognized her like in my soul, with like
Yeah.
hokey, woo woo, hippie thing to say. But like we look very much alike. But you never know. So you get the collageable app out on the phone and then you superimpose, my picture, her picture, the 4 of us, I think, are in the pod. So I think there's only 4 of us that are known as we
Got
know.
it.
There's probably more out there, but there's the 4 of us.
4 meaning you, the 2 half sisters that you discovered through the platform, and likely your younger brother who you were raised with.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
3 girls and a boy.
Got it. All right. Let's talk about the donor. I want to hear how that all played out.
Boy. All right. So the private, closed, secret Facebook groups that we're in, thank goodness for those groups. So I get wind about these people called search angels, and especially for the Jews, we're all kind of interbred and a lot of, mystery or whatever goes on there. So we need help because everyone's a cousin. I don't mean to say interbred. That's a bad thing. Bad joke. The humor deflecting. Okay. So I won volunteers, or I forget. I didn't pay for it, whatever. She helps me. Wonderful woman, Canadian professor. I won't obviously divulge her identity. She takes on the case and I start, sending her my passwords and all that jazz. And it took a while, like years to find him. And it was in the pandemic. It was 2020 when we're all trapped in our houses on the computers doing the things. And it was one key person whose name I'll never forget, tested in, spit into the tube, and he was the key to unlocking the mystery. She found him toot sweet, found his number, his landline, found his cell phone, and I texted him. You draft the message. I didn't even have Chat GPT review it. It was before that. Ship it off into the universe. It was the typical message. I want nothing of you, just my medical history and perhaps a connection. You draft it, you rethink it. I sent a picture I found of his father, my bio dad, Admiral of the Bulge, lived to be 106. I thought I looked a lot like him, like the long face. What a long face.
Yeah.
I sent it in and nothing, nothing. You get good with God that you're never going to get a return text. It could be never. You're probably never going to hear from this person again. Fine. I did my part. Can't control other people. Peace out. So sitting on the couch a year later, watching Die Hard for Christmas, bing, notification from Gid. It's him. Holy crap. Hello, dearest Marcy. You asked about my medical problems, and it reads like doctor's notes. And I'm like, it's a long text. And I'm like, please forgive my delay in responding. Very formal, very like legalese, scrolling to read the text. It's like a 5-minute scroll. And I'm like, what the H is this?
Yeah.
Show my husband. He's like, it's a Nigerian prince. It's a scam. Like, do not reply. So I am flabbergasted, sit there in silence, watch Bruce Willis do whatever with the airplane. Christmas comes and goes, but then we go skiing in Vermont and I reply. And we start replying about like knee arthritis. We have that in common. So now this makes sense to me why I have such horrible joint health in my early 20s when I started. So he is in Seattle, Washington, well, Portland, Oregon, Washington, somewhere where the hell out there, as far away from Connecticut as you can be, over 3,000 miles. And we start talking a lot, like all day, texting, like completely distracts me from the ski vacation with the family. Family's getting annoyed with me. I cannot like get away from this cell phone. I'm glued to the phone 24/7. Like for days, for weeks, it continues. It's like, having a new boyfriend when you're like completely enthralled and can't think of or do nothing else.
Yeah.
So we start talking on the phone. And then we start FaceTiming. I'm like, are you real? Like catfishing, whatever. You watch the reality shows. So he's an old man in his 70s. But when you finally FaceTime this guy and see what he looks like, I just started crying. I was like, and so did he. I'm like, we are the same person.
Yeah.
Like, this is him. Wow. We look like an old Jewish man. Wow. So that's fun. So yeah, the knee replacements, like I'm actually going to the knee doctor next week, but he's going in for another knee replacement. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's pretty old and feeble and seems to have like dementia. Like he can't really string together sentences and goes off on tangents about like war history and the value of silver. And I'm just holding the phone for like hours at this point. And I'm like, my husband at the time is getting mad at me, which is a whole nother story, but wow. So I start like having all the mental, like the trauma, capital T with this stuff. At this point, I have a therapist, but I have to go see and meet this guy in the flesh right now, because if he goes under anesthesia, I'm not too sure he's going to make it out.
Okay.
And I need to meet him, see him, and like shake his hand in person. So I did that. Oh, Marcy can be a little impulsive sometimes, but only I feel like with the good stuff, nothing robbing banks impulsive or hurting people, but mostly to myself impulsive.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've had this great, amazing job at the state capitol, as I've alluded to, for the past 17 years. And we have a legislative session when the budget comes out, a busy time of year. So I gave 2 weeks notice, which I thought was generous. Not really. So I told my boss, hey, I'm not going to do the budget and the whole thing this year. I'm quitting my job and moving to Seattle. And my friends and family were like, crap, this is completely out of character for me. I'm a new stepmom, just got married, just uprooted my life in West Hartford, moved down here to the sticks in Norwich, Connecticut. So this was all big new changes, a lot going on in the past 2 or 3 years. Yeah, new stepmom, like I said, just got married. And now I'm abandoning all this to go meet some old guy that I don't even know, over 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Everyone was very, very worried about me, rightfully so. Appreciate that, friends and friends. And so, the parents in West Hartford are really not talking to me either at this point, because when I sold the house in West Hartford to become a new stepmom and get remarried, moved down here, they did not approve. A recurring theme.
Okay.
So they cut me off emotionally and said, you're no longer part of this family because you owe us a small amount of money from that house, which I really didn't. It was never about the money. It was about the control. In my opinion, when I look back, because I was, born under this contract, in my opinion, I didn't really fulfill how it was supposed to go. And I'm out. So I'll never, I went to some pretty intense therapy for standing by the back window and hearing you're no longer part of this family.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that stands till this day.
I'm trying not to cry right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And being the eldest daughter, just wanted to, make dad proud of me.
Yeah.
The state employee, you never quit that state job, young lady. My dad, a longstanding state employee. So, but I did it because finally in my life, GD, I'm going to do something that I want to do and break the script. Yeah. So I was pretty proud of myself, like a lot of bravery and strength. Like I ski race, I do triathlons in the ocean, I run marathons. This is the bravest thing I've ever done. Stupidest too. Bravery comes in all forms, right? So I gave the 2-week notice at the career. It's not just a job, right? This is a big career with like assignments. And now my boss is SOL. She's got to pick up the slack. Like it's a big deal. Nights and weekends, 80 hours. So she's got to do that. So I bought a pod, one of those moving pods.
Yeah.
Packed up like a couple suits, mostly the sports equipment, because yay, Seattle for the skiing and the biking and all the things. My dog, my black lab, love of my life, and packed up my car and said, peace out.
Wow.
Oh yeah, the husband, new husband wasn't too keen on all this. He didn't like believe me. But well, he was looking out for me, honestly, like needed someone to look out for me. And so as you know, but maybe not all the people know, when you don't have a direct match on the ancestry, it's called triangulation. And you piece together. So if you're related to this one and A equals B, then B equals C, whatever. So it wasn't a direct match, but I knew and my researcher knew, but he didn't really know what was going on with all this because who would?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, is that really, it's really the father? And I'm like, yeah, it is. He's like, well, he wanted to see a driver's license and like a social security card. And I didn't want to upset this man and ask for things in fear of rejection from dad, number one.
Right.
Didn't want to, ask for those things. And I didn't, anyway, I believed it. He didn't believe it. I was like, let's go visit first, like a normal person, like, why don't you come with me? And that was like back and forth with the husband about that. And I'm like, screw it. I'm going. Like I said, I'm going to go move into this huge mansion and take care of him for his next knee replacement. Seattle will be fine. I always wanted to like live there.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened. So, and I was mad at him that he didn't believe me. I'm like, I am a researcher for a living. I've been doing this, working on this for 8 years. Why don't you believe me? There's no trust. There's no marriage. So I filed for divorce and left.
And this was at the point where the donor had already reached out to you as well, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were FaceTiming. I was like, look, this is him. Like, look at this. Like, there's no denying it.
Mm-hmm.
I was pissed that he didn't believe me. Like, this is the father. Like, and then I was like, there's no trust, there's no marriage. And I filed for divorce with a lawyer and packed up the pod and left in my car and drove across the country.
Wow.
Yeah. And showed up at his house. He was like, yeah, daughter, beautiful. And it was like, all the texting was really like beautiful. It's like my beautiful daughter. And like, I was calling him daddy, which I've never done before. And like, he didn't like hearing that. And it was whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so I get there and it was like, cool at first and then not so cool. I got a job right away, like a nice job with the Oregon Public Utilities Commission. But you know what the aha moment was? When they took my Connecticut license and punched a hole in it and said, oh, you have to surrender your license. And I was like, if something happens to me doing my stuff, there's no one within like 3,200 miles that's going to come help me.
Right.
Literally no one. This guy can't drive. Like, it was a little weird. And he got kind of possessive too when I was there. Like he wanted to like go out with me at night. I'm like, you can't even walk down the stairs to this nightclub to see this weird music that you don't like jam bands.
And now he had an awareness that you were arriving, or did he know that? He was
encouraging me.
He was encouraging. So he knew you, not only were you arriving, but you were moving to stay there.
Yeah, I was moving in with my dog while he had cats, which was a whole nother shit show.
Oh, so you moved in with the donor at first. Okay. Got it.
In to his 4,000 square foot. I was going to help him because I'm a helper.
Yeah. Okay. So talk me through a little bit more of what those, initial days and weeks were like as you were spending time with, the bio dad for the first time.
Surreal. At first, it was like a cool road trip. And I think part of me wanted to do that because all my friends are deadheads and did the, drop out of school, go on dead tour. And I stayed in school, didn't do all that. So literally, I've never been west of Colorado. So it was crazy driving through Wyoming and Idaho by myself. It was still kind of wintry in March out there. It was a little... When I think back on it, I was a little stupid and crazy. I had AAA and I'm a smart person. I'm a Girl Scout and a backpacker in New Hampshire by myself. So I was street smart, but it got a little hairy.
Yeah.
A few times.
Okay.
But it was surreal. And I think that's a word I hear a lot in our community. So the night before, you do the staging night, like an hour away in Oregon. And it was beautiful. It was the Cascade. The word escapes me now, but the Hood River area. So I do it was like a vacation.
Mhm.
from this crazy, I was about to start like 80-hour weeks. So I was stoked, man. I was like in this beautiful area, Hood River. So then, you do like the drive by before and I see him in the window and it was like a movie. I'm in this, that's generally my life with a great soundtrack is like a movie.
Yeah.
So we go and so the first day I pull up, and like, we're like, let's go out to lunch, So I start paying for all the meals, and the whole time we were planning this, he's, I'll help you out while you're getting settled financially and look for a job. I was going to get, a good payout even for my sick time at work. And I was going to have some money to help me along, but I noticed things. I'm a great noticer. And not that I'm definitely not cheap at all. If anything, I'm over generous. However, at this time in my life, I was cognizant of my finances. I was filing for divorce and I had no job. I've never not had a job. I have never ever quit a job without having anything lined up. Who does that?
Mhm.
So yeah, so I start paying for lunches, like a lot of lunches and everything and groceries in the house. And he keeps really weird habits in the house, like up all night and sleeping all day and night terrors and screaming in the middle of the night. And I've never lived with cats, two cats. Cats are a little scary. I've had big dogs, whatnot. And then he's from Connecticut. He's from Waterbury, Connecticut, and was a doctoral student at UConn. So he still keeps East Coast hours, even though he lives on the West Coast for his whole life. So he's up at 6 a.m. doing the stock market.
Mhm.
And that's all he talked about is the stock market and very concerned with money.
Okay.
And that's not the way I roll. Money's nice to have. I say that because I have, things but not overly concerned with money.
Mhm.
And I started to notice that. Oh, the stock market's up, stock market's down every 2 minutes. I'm like, yeah, set it and forget it, man. Like, let's just be normal people.
Yeah.
So very overly concerned with money and how much he had. And he would leave his balances up on the screen. How can you not notice that when you walk by? There was quite a few commas, quite a few zeros. Couldn't help but notice that. He gave me like a silver coin, like I was 7 years old. I'm like, oh, that's great. Oh, thanks. So I'm like, why don't you like pay for tacos today? Like not me every single time, So it was like just a gesture, like even when I'm like 45 years old and I go out to a concert with my girlfriends, my dad would still give me like $20 for gas, like that's like 5 miles worth of gas, but it's cute, it's like the gesture. That's what dads do,
Right. Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, bio dad was never married and never had children.
Okay. I was going to ask it sounded like the living situation was that he was there by himself, but I was curious,
with the
had he
cats.
ever had more? Okay.
Yeah, weird cat guy.
Got it.
So you can tell that he's never lived with anyone. And this was abundantly clear. Not a good person to live with. I was like, oh crap, what did I get myself into? But it was a big house. And I ended up taking the upstairs wing because my dog attacked his cat, went through the plaster wall. My dog was injured. And guess who offered to pay the vet bill, the $400 vet bill? So I'm noticing these things and I'm like, oh, okay. And he said, oh, we're going to go tour the Pacific Northwest, my beautiful baby daughter. He would call me his baby daughter. Like, how can you not? Like, and my dad has been so cold to me my whole life. It's very transactional. And he would come put fertilizer down on my house in West Hartford. After I say, don't want it. It's poison my dog. And then send me the bill. Not ever. I love you. Not once ever.
Huh.
So I love you, my baby girl daughter, like 5-8 times a day. Of course, I would be drawn to that. So all sorts of weird stuff like that going on. I get a job, trying to be happy, trying to like not look like I made a stupid move because Marcy doesn't do that. But then they took my Connecticut license and I freaked out and I called my husband at the time and I said, I'm scared. I want to come home. I messed up. And called my attorney, withdrew the divorce paper like in the last second and packed up my shit and got in the car and got home in like 4 days, like drove really fast.
Yeah. Okay.
Got pulled over in Kansas. The guy was really nice. We sang Taylor Swift in Missouri on the side of the road. He let me go and got home.
Okay.
Yeah.
So while you were doing this, did your two half sisters, who also come from the donor, were they aware that you were doing this? I assume your brother may have known, but maybe that's...
Yeah, my brother I told. Okay, yes. So all my friends and family thought I was being human trafficked and were very concerned for me.
Yeah.
And my phone was blowing up the whole time. So I'm driving like 90 miles an hour on Route 80 straight, for 12 hours. And I couldn't keep up with the texting. Like, how lucky is a girl to have that concern of friends? Usually you say friends and family, but my family had cut me out by this point. So the friends. So I do voice texting, hey, Siri, as you're driving, but literally phone between the Facebook Messenger doesn't have that capability. So I thought it would be a great idea to start doing Facebook Live videos. Awesome idea.
Okay. Yeah.
So thoroughly like embarrassing my husband at the time, whatever on that. But I looked a little crazy, let's be honest. And in retrospect, I was just doing the best I could at the time. I thought I would be transparent and showing my friends and family, like, hey, I'm in Nebraska visiting, the world's largest salt pile and being alive. Just wanted to show them I wasn't, they literally thought I was tied up in a basement.
Mm-hmm.
But strong, independent, and aware Marcy would never let anything like that happen to me. And this was all on my free will. And I was on a road trip and going to move in with some new dad that I had never met, because that's normal, and doing the best I could. But that's how I was keeping in touch, by Facebook Live videos.
Got it.
And I have a pretty large Facebook. I have a large number of friends because I had a small business on there at one point. So it was
Okay.
wide and far. And then you start getting the messages, from the friends from sixth grade who, what's going on? They really are just, need some entertainment. And they really aren't concerned, but they feign concern, but they're just nosy.
Understood. So the donor, upon you arriving, his assumption was that you were moving there to stay.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you decided to leave, how did that play out? What was his reaction?
Again, not good and weird. That's the theme. So, all right. So the whole pod thing also was a disaster because things are not as efficient in Washington State as they are in Connecticut. So you call for the pod and, that facility has been abandoned. So there's a delay in ordering the pod. And so, great. So more patient. I'm a very patient person. I've done yoga for a long time. Thank God. A lot of deep breathing and running. By the way, a lot of running going on, but you can only run so much. So the pod finally shows up and I start repiling all the stuff back in there, the Peloton bike, all the heavy stuff. And he has guests over for lunch that day. The neighbors, very concerned with appearances. Another theme with the parents and everyone else. So he throws on his suit jacket over his mock turtleneck and his like pajama pants. And these neighbors from the street come down and they have lunch as I'm, sweating in my like spandex and my tie-dye sports bra, my tattoos hanging out, and I'm throwing the shit in there with my Yukon hat. And they're like, what the hell is going on here? I could see them being very weirded out, as someone would. And no one is helping me, and he can't help do anything. He can barely walk, which is my future. And they start helping. The neighbors, the guests start like bringing little house plants or like a book just for the principle of helping, which I really appreciated, but they really couldn't help. So you leave out like the few like pairs of pants you need for the car ride or whatever. But it was just so awkward, so weird. And he wants to, he's a nocturnal person where I like to keep sleep hours because of the migraines. It actually, helps. Not, but I'm telling you, it helps.
Yeah.
And it was horrible, awkward. He would text me from the downstairs. See, great texter all of a sudden. And still with the scrolling verbiage and couldn't make sense of the words. And I'm like, just leave me alone. I was calling home to be like, just keep me entertained, keep me like sane. And it was a long few days waiting for that damn pod to get picked up. And as soon as I had like confidence, I had like a padlock for it, nothing of great value in there. And I saw the pod get picked up, a whole debacle with that. And I just hit the road, man, and peace out. Don't let the door hit you. Made sure my dog was in there. And you get like the adrenaline rush. You hear like people being able to lift cars. And yeah, I just hightailed it the heck out of there. And thank God for my Toyota with great reliability. Shout out to the RAV. And got home. And there were some snowstorms. It was even like worse weather, like Wyoming and the plateaus in Idaho. And I slept in a truck stop, and cray.
Yeah, not an easy trek back. So was there any sort of triggering event that prompted you to say, I got to get the heck out of here? Or was it sort of just a culmination of many things that had built up?
Like I said, it was the license when the DMV, their messed up version of the privatized motor vehicle department, hole punched my license, and you get a paper license plate to put on your car in this, wintry place. I'm like, how is this going to hold on? It blows off as soon as you leave and you get a paper license. And, I work for a state government, as I mentioned, and this was no semblance of a state government. And you surrender it and you just realize that literally there's no one with it. I had a friend from high school who lived kind of nearby, an acquaintance that I haven't spoken to in 30 years, but literally no one is going to help me. My friends are my family here in Connecticut. I have a great group of close friends who I love and cherish dearly, like family, and they're not going to be able to make it out here in an hour. So I'm screwed. And
Yeah.
just a slow, as you may have alluded to, realization that this is not my so-called life. And holy crap, what have I done? And a coming to, if you will, of reality.
Right. And I was going to say, you tell me if it's fair to assume this, but that hole punch in the ID, the Connecticut state ID, maybe almost felt like, part of your identity was slipping away. And maybe that feeling was something that you had been familiar with and didn't really like it.
Yeah. Well said.
Got it. All right.
Yeah. Identity crisis for sure.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. So you make it back to the East Coast. I was trying to dig a little deeper on this before, and maybe you can shine more of a light on this. So your two half sisters, are you filling them in on what your experience has been like as it's going on? Or is it something that you only shared with them upon your return?
And have I shared that with them upon my return?
I guess that's another assumption I should not have made, maybe.
That's okay. I didn't mean to be snarky, but I think I have shame. Well, I know I have shame because I'm Irish Catholic, but but I have not shared that with them. Those might be, I think Rachel knows because she is smart and she's my Facebook friend, and she definitely knows, but let's back up a little. So the month before I made this grand plan to uproot my life, I was in Sedona for the Sedona half marathon. I do these runcations by myself frequently because I have all this vacation time, whatever. So I was on the phone with him quite a bit during Bio-Dad during this time because he's been to Sedona and all the shared memories. He sent me a beautiful necklace to the hotel. How sweet is that? And we finally got a group text, the sisters text, group text. I thought that was amazing. And I did not shared with them his phone number. And Rachel texted him with pictures. Here's your grandsons and their bat mitzvah, and pictures. And they texted back. And she was really kind of way more cool with him than I was. Didn't want a relationship, but just hi, let you know I'm out here. Here's my picture. And that was about it. The other sister, Jana, who was sick with breast cancer, wanted to not even contact him ever. My dad is my dad, and this guy is nothing to do with me.
Yep.
So I never told them. I was embarrassed and had shame that I was going to do this. And to this day, I have not talked about it with either of them.
And how does that feel now? Do you feel like you were maybe keeping something from them?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely am keeping huge things from them. And yeah. And a lot of ums here. What was I going to say? Yeah. Oh, this is what I was going to say. See how deep it's buried. Jana, the other one from South Windsor, who was sick, said that I am allowed to be her Facebook friend and to have lunch with her here and there, but I am not to be known to the rest of her family. This is the one with the controlling husband.
Yep.
And so I feel like a dirty little secret
to
her. So that sucks.
Yeah.
So
not an unfamiliar feeling for many of us in the donor conceived community, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. And Rachel hasn't contacted me since. So I have, ashamed her. I've done something wrong in that regard too. We used to be more in touch. She invited me to her house for a Sukkot dinner, and I learned all about that. We used to meet once a year, if not more. So yeah, I haven't heard from either. Haven't heard from her since, and I'm a dirty secret to the other one. So yeah, it just kind of sucks.
Yeah. Well, I know this because we have spoken before this conversation. You had told me a few months back that you were thinking of writing a book yourself, or maybe are even in the process of doing that. I'm not sure. Could you talk to me a little bit about how you see that potentially playing out and what your main motivation might be around putting all of these thoughts and feelings that you have to words?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I will talk to you about that. So, I know we're on a audio podcast, but visually I'm holding up a copy of your new book, Inconceivably Connected by Nick Ludwig. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
And first and foremost, however, I did, as many of us, came across Danny Shapiro's book, Inheritance. quite a few years ago. So that when I read that, I was like, holy cow, this is very similar. And so last year I was lucky enough to go to the writing workshop at Kurpalu in the Berkshires. I had a very silent weekend with great food and a weird bunk bed and got it signed by Danny Shapiro and met her. And so I do have an English minor, Shakespeare. It's very useful in the modern world. So yeah, I want to write a book. I really haven't made much progress since we spoke last, but I think we need to share these stories to let others know they're not alone, and just for myself to capture these scattered thoughts and occurrences. As you can tell, this is all very scattered and all over the place, and I need to streamline the thoughts and the occurrences and for myself, and have not really had a chance to do that yet, but we'll certainly get around to it. Now that work has finished, I finally just finished. I was lucky enough to get another state job and slide back into my pension. Very lucky girl. So got through another legislative session just last week. Had a busy week, as I told you personally. And so that'll be a future project. Really excited about it. Yeah.
Very exciting. And then talk to me a little bit about your, you've been a vocal advocate on behalf of donor conceived people and our community. Could you give us more detail as to, what that's looked like?
Yes, I can. Just an advocate in general. So my new job is in government relations. I am a volunteer patient advocate for a major drug company for migraine disease and medications as well. And I've always just been raised to be a strong, vocal person, as I alluded to before. I don't know why. People let themselves be silenced by other people. So I will be that voice to help share my story, is what I'm trying to say. And there shouldn't be shame around this thing, even though there is. Can't help it. But we're not alone. There's hundreds of thousands, if not more, of us out there. My picture, I just lended to the back cover of that We Are Donor Conceived magazine. So if you have a question, there's more likely someone else has the same dumb question. And since I'm an extrovert and outspoken in many ways, I will just lend my loud voice to the group.
Good.
And
great.
use my expertise and my loud voice, and just to let others know you're not alone.
I love it.
That feeling sucks.
Cool. Is there anything else that you feel maybe we glossed over that was, a part of your story, or maybe something else entirely that maybe we haven't touched on yet that you think is worth being part of this conversation?
I will think of it after we hang up, and I'll let you know.
I'm sure. That's why I keep the recording going, even when it's over.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just like you alluded to just now, using my expertise in legislation is something I would like to use for the greater good moving forward. In another group that we have to ping other states in their legislation to help write testimony and things of that nature. So I might as well use my background and expertise to help the cause. I'm so glad for these kids today that, have parents that are perhaps more enlightened to tell the children, and the children deserve and need to know, even not just for medical consequences, but just for their identity. And actually, I have told the others in my previous office, and they have confided in me that, hey, I went to seek donor treatment and my kids are donor conceived. And because of you sharing, we saw a book. They have the kids' books today that help to teach their children about mommy and daddy went to the doctor. And so they confide in me about that. So I feel proud about helping them and that. So it just your whole life makes sense, as we all say. It all makes sense now about why I teased my sister when we were 5 and made her cry, and why she's blonde and I'm a curly brunette, and why she's good at sports and this and that. But it all makes sense, and I'm glad it happened, and everything happens for a reason. And we're here today, and I'm grateful I was born for $40. Personal check.
All
gotta
right.
find humor. You gotta keep the humor.
Gotta keep the humor. It's the only way to get through some of the more challenging parts of this whole journey.